Nothing better than doing tire changing video. It's been a little while, so I thought I'd do another one. Got some brand new W wheels. Gonna put them on my Tenere. And they need tires. So I got the rims all taped up. These are gonna go with tubes. And here we go. Just gonna run it live. So there. Of course, I'm running the Tuff tube, which is not the super heavy duty. It's kind of the in-between, intermediate, medium one. There. I probably should have put air in this, but I'm going to go grab a tool and do that real quick. Put a little bit of air in it to get it going. And I'll kind of show you all of the steps as we go along here. Of course, I have a tire changing stand right there, but I also like to do them on the ground because I don't want to show off with all my cool tools. And I got my tire changing flip-flops on, and it's hot today. It's humid. We had rain last night. I would much rather be riding my dirt bike than changing tires, but you know, sometimes you just got to do the work. Got to put the work in to be able to get the job done. So, taking the little nut off, the second nut, and just getting those things ready. I'm going to go get my other tool. I've got my tire irons here. I got a bunch of them, but on the adventure tires, it's really not that necessary. I just have them there ready to go. I need to grab a razor blade to cut the tape off of the tires. And then, I'll go through all of the steps. Oh yeah, you could fast forward through this part if you want to get to the changing techniques. If I was good on the YouTubes, I would put those, what do they call them, chapters in there. But I didn't learn how to do that. So, just going to run it live so you can see how long this does take and what I need to do. So, okay, that tire's all ready to go. This tire is going to be all ready to go here. That there. Tires are ready to go. Tubes need air in them. I'm going to go put air in them real quick, and then we can get started. Okay, so on the tubes, I like to just start with a little bit of air in them so they're not so collapsed down, but it might be a little bit too much, but you see it's real easy. Just, I didn't even take the valve stem out. So a lot of times, the pressure that they'll hold with just the valve core in there is, with the valve core removed, just what they kind of, when they expand on their own, that's usually pretty good. So next step, I've always done this. Baby powder. It's now just cornstarch, but that way, you know, if you're out in the trail and something starts going wrong, you could always eat it, I guess, right? Who knows? I wouldn't do that. So, tube in the tire is the way I like to do it. I put quite a bit of a baby powder in there. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to kind of just help the tube, as long as, especially if it stays dry, it'll really help it kind of separate from, you know, let it slide around in there. So then, that baby powder, doing all that stuff. And I'll think, okay, good to go. So now what I do is I get the valve stem out like that, and I have pierced the hole where it goes through here, which is right here, and then I take it, and of course now I need to make sure, so this is the side that has the sensors on it, which means it's going this direction like so. Sensors on this side, so it's going this way, and I'm going to mount these in the proper direction, which is this way. So if you're following some of my vlogs on my Tenere, I actually mounted my tires in the opposite direction because these have a shaped knob to them a little bit, and I wanted to see how that would perform, and it worked. Well, it worked for what I wanted to do. I wanted better braking, and I got better braking. But some of my turn-in, especially on the kind of on good hard pack, wasn't as good. So what I did, I put the valve stem through there. I started the nut. I'm going to push it back down, and I make sure that that section of the tube that's kind of fatter, because the valve stem is in there, actually goes down and in. I don't want it to sit on top and get pinched. So I go down in, all set. Now I'm going to start pulling the tire up, and I'm not doing it with lube just yet. I might throw lube in there, but I don't always do it. Sometimes I'll put it on there to bead up, but brand new stuff, you really don't need to. My biggest concern is these rims are so pretty, and I'm kind of a hack when it comes to do that. So I'm just going to take my tire iron and be really careful with this. And notice I'm kind of down on my knees. I know that it's up into the dish of the rim on the other side. And then I'm going to go here and just slowly go over it. I'm not worried about pinching the tube at this point when I'm doing this. So, and if you ever have to use a ton of energy to get it to go over, especially on an adventure bike tire with no rim locks, that's it. It's down and over. If you have to use a lot of energy, it's not up in the dish. Okay? So we're all there. This is centered. Sometimes I will line up this with the valve stem, but you know, all that balancing and everything, it works for a little while, but a couple skids in and it's all done. There we go. So make sure everything's all nice and settled in there. And I'm going to go ahead and start back here at the valve core, and I'm going to put it in. And I'm not going to answer phone calls right now, I don't think, because it could be spam. So there we go. No taking phone calls while changing tires. I usually like to have a suds when I'm changing tires, but I'm going to have a lot of those tomorrow. I'm going to go trail running tomorrow, so I like to have a few suds. So I'm being really careful because my new rims. John Anderson at W Wheels likes me to keep them as pretty as I can when I do this. So what I just did, I got it started. I made sure that my tube is out of the way, and I'm using my knees to push down on the dish of the tire to go, the edge of the tire to put the bead into the dish. And very smooth and careful. Here we go, like this. Over. Again, not using any energy when I'm doing this, because if I have to crank on it, it's not down here. And so I'm using my knees and my hands to kind of keep that down into the dish, like so, like so. See, I kind of walked it back around. This knee's holding it down, this knee's holding it down. I'm kind of walking around, like levering down on the rotor and like bending it. These are actually floating rotors. Galfer rotors, by the way. So these are just a little bit more about the wheels. These are W wheels. They're built with the Hahn hubs, which are really Sano. It's got a nice kind of, I don't even know, copper color. I'm not sure the color on this thing, but it's going to make my bike look better. And so now we're getting to the point where I want to hold this one down, and I'm going to make sure the bead's down where it needs to be, and then go over. And again, just trying to be really careful with that. Work your way back this way to keep the bead going down into the dish. And then take, you know, kind of small, medium bites. the tube is down on the other side. I'm not worried about catching the tube because I know that it's inside the rim and it's not going to be any place. And this should be, this is where it gets tricky. It's like, is this going to be my last one? I just took a big enough bite to where I know it will be the last pushover. I hope, because it's like when you get over here, there you go, pops right on. So when you get to that last one, it's just experience. When you start saying, how much should I take? Because you don't want to take too little and it gets really tight and have a hard time getting the tire on underneath it. You want to take the right size bite so it basically just kind of pops right in. This tire is, right now, ready for air. And so my valve stem is nice and straight. You can see it from here or here. I always run those nuts loose. I never tighten them up to the rim. So just so we know that. And onto the rear. So same procedure. Maybe I'll talk a little less when I do this. Find the hole, which I have to cut because I just taped it. Here it is here. There's there. And so I put a lot of tape on this one. Here. And the good thing about the taping when you do that is it just protects your tube from getting into the spokes. So this is ready to go. And I'm going to look at the bike. Okay, drive direction is that way. So tire drive direction is this way. So I'm all good there. Add baby powder. Add tube. This tube could probably have just a little bit more air in it. Sometimes if you actually put a lot of air in them and stretch them out when they're brand new, and then you know, take the valve stem out, that makes it easier. Okay, so we got that right direction, this right direction, and when I work on this, I want to work on the disc side, not the sprocket side. I like my fingers a little bit and I want to get them cut up, so I'm going to go in this way, and then that way the second half it's going to go down like that. So here's this, put this up in here like so, and get it there. Let me angle this guy up in here. I like to make it a nice tight fit in there, which I might need to cut that tape just a little bit more. Maybe if I would have hit the hole, it would have helped too. Not with this, but with the valve core. Okay, so it's all good. Okay, back to making sure I'm going everything in the right direction again, because I started spinning stuff around. So this is going to go this direction, like that. And then this tire, wait a minute, here we go. Hold on. This goes this way. And this goes direction again. I usually look at the tire and see it. Direction is of rotation is this way. So this way and this way. So now we're going the right way. And I want to bring it in so that I'm working on the right side, which is there. The hole is where? Right there. So here we go again. So it's funny, just been doing this stuff for so long, like all the funny things I just do with my body position is all natural. So I'm actually holding this with my shoulder so I can work with my hands. I don't want anything to fall over. So just like we teach in our riding schools all about balance, there's even balance in doing this. So it's in there, pushing that down. Exact same method. So I'm gonna start it and push everything down. So here, I'm gonna push it into the get as much as I can with my hand, then I set it down. And sometimes on the rear ones, the tube actually, like right now, it isn't that blown up. So I can actually pull the tube out, away. So what I'm doing in here, you can see it on both cameras, I take the tube out, I'm going to pull it back. So I'm not going to pinch it there. Same thing, just take the tire iron, reach it in there, and push down. Same thing, if you're taking if you're having to push too hard, the back side of the bead isn't in the dish here. So here, like that. Again, I'll pull up a little bit on that sucker, push it, there, pops down, it's real easy. Now, I'm going to push the tube back in, and then just by nature, the tube will fall down into the dish of the rim. It goes all the way down. And checking all this, all good. Happy with that. It's not underneath the tube is not underneath the valve stem on the other side. So I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to start right over here by the valve core. And I don't have to worry about it falling back in because I have that nut on there. Kind of set those. Now I start using my knees again. And then just start taking small bites. I'll kind of get a little way away from the valve core. And this one's going to stay here. And I can hold it with my knee, and then I can just start working my way around like this, and like this, and like this. And again, when you start getting closer, you're going to start wanting to push out. I can see right now that this is up onto the bead, and that's going to make it really hard to change. So what I will do is come back over here and just use the tire to push it down off of the bead and get it back down into the center of the rim. So when it's loose, it's real easy to do. You start getting it tight up on the back side, big problem. So again, down, hold it there, and the whole time just chasing that bead back down into the dish is your friend when you're doing this. Actually, the hardest thing about adventure tires is getting them off the bead, because the rims often have really good bead locks on them. It's getting them off the bead when you're actually, doing it on the trail or changing your tires again. So now we're getting to kind of that critical part where it's a little bit harder. So again, making sure this is going down. And then even as I'm doing this, I can say, hey, this section here isn't dropping down as much. So I might reposition my knees, push down, take a little more. But if you're stressing and breaking tire irons, I only know this because somebody just broke a tire iron in my shop. They were changing a moose, and they didn't replace it. So they might not be changing stuff in my shop anymore. Anyway, so keeping that bead down, and again, trying to be really delicate with my nice W wheels. That's WDUBYA wheels. Again, I'm down to that last one. Usually I just yank this sucker out of there and not worry about the rim too much, but they're still just way too pretty, and especially with the anodizing and stuff. So pushing this back down. See that pop down? So it's as important to keep this pop down as it is to get the other side over. And so I'm going to take my last little drive over here, get that tire underneath there without scratching it. I'm actually lifting up. Let me see, maybe I'll go backwards with this guy. There we go. Oh. Get it in there. And this is the thing, is when you have that last little bite, it gets hard to get the tire iron back in. And then we're up and over and done. So that's it. Another one for the books. So I'm going to go throw air in those things, and we're going to call it good. And we'll see you out in the trail.